Prime Field.
Welcome back to Prime Field, and buckle up because this is not a normal pregame. On February 14th, 2026, the number 1 ranked UConn Huskies walk into Milwaukee to face Marquette. And yes, UConn is undefeated. Yes, UConn is rolling. Yes, the last 2 games were blowouts. But here's the truth that matters right now. This game is not about whether UConn can win. This game is about who Geno Auriemma actually trusts when the building gets loud, the whistles get tight, and the margin for error shrinks. So tonight, we are not watching the scoreboard. We are watching the rotation. Let's set the stage. UConn is coming in with a perfect record and total control of the Big East standings. The last 2 performances were the definition of dominance, including a demolition of Creighton. But dominance can hide the most important story in February. When you win by 30 and 50, minutes get weird. Shots get free, everyone looks good, and it becomes easy to confuse depth with trust. Milwaukee is the opposite environment. Road games tighten everything. The crowd changes the rhythm. The opponent plays with extra edge. And every possession that turns sloppy becomes a coaching decision. So this is the question you should keep repeating all night. When something goes wrong, who stays in the game? Because that answer is UConn's March blueprint. Now we start with the name that changes the entire geometry of UConn's offense, Sarah Strong. She came back against Creighton after being held out against Butler for rest and calf tightness, and the impact was instant. You could feel it. With Strong on the floor, UConn's offense calms down. The ball moves with purpose. The spacing becomes cleaner. The backcourt does not have to force playmaking every trip. Strong gives you interior scoring, but the bigger thing is that she gives you a hub. She can operate from the high post, she can facilitate, and she can punish defenses that overplay the perimeter. But here's the detail that matters most for Milwaukee. She started and still played under 20 minutes. That is a coaching message. That is tactical preservation. So in this game, we are tracking the first major trust marker. Does Sarah Strong cross the 20-minute line? If she plays 25 to 28 minutes, that is a signal that the ramp-up is over, and UConn is preparing her for full postseason workload. If she stays under 20 again, that is a signal that Geno is still protecting the body more than chasing a regular season statements. And now the chess part. Marquette has interior defense that wants to funnel you into the paint, and they have the conference's top shot blocker in Skylar Forbes. So the question becomes, will Strong be used as the high-post passer to punish Marquette's shot blocking and create clean corner looks? Because if she is, then you are not just watching a player return. You are watching UConn install the playoff version of the offense. Now let's talk about the current storm in the rotation, Allie Ziebell. In the last 2 games, she has moved from situational shooter to rotation necessity. Against Creighton, she exploded for 20 points, and most of it came in the second half. That matters because it tells you she is not just scoring when the game is already dead. She is sustaining momentum while the starters are resting. That is the kind of role that wins in March. Now here's the part that people miss when they talk about shooters. It is not just whether you can hit shots. It is whether your shot profile holds up in a hostile building. So we have a second trust marker for Milwaukee. Does Geno give Ziebell the early green light on the road? If she's allowed to take transition threes in the first half, that is a major trust signal. That means she has climbed above her peers in the guard hierarchy. And here's the real test. What happens after her first miss? If she stays in and continues to get looks, her trust level is at its highest point of the season. If she gets yanked quickly, that tells you Geno still sees her as a controlled weapon, not an always-on piece. Now we go to the part that decides championships, even when fans want to ignore it. The bench. UConn's blowouts have produced loud box scores, multiple players scoring in double figures, a flood of points that makes everyone feel like a star, but the rotation is never decided by points alone. It is decided by timing. Against Creighton, Kaylee Heckel checked in at around the 5-minute mark of the first quarter. That is not random. That is early. That is meaningful. That suggests she is the trusted pressure valve, the player Geno uses when the ball handling needs to settle and the pace needs control. So the third trust marker is simple. Who is the first guard off the bench in Milwaukee? If it is Heckel again, that confirms the hierarchy. If that slot goes to someone else, you're watching the hierarchy shift in real time. And then you have the interior relief role where Jana El-Alfi has been the main support piece. If Marquette's rebounding and physicality force UConn into more size, El Alfie's role could rise. If UConn stays small and fast, then the wing and guard logjam becomes the headline. So keep asking yourself, is the bench being used to develop depth or to confirm a pecking order? Because those are very different coaching goals. Now we arrive at the biggest variable though in this entire game, Blanca Quiñonez. Reports say she is progressing and could return for this matchup. If she is available, that is not a normal return. That is a starter-level talent re-entering the rotation. She scores in double figures on the season. She pressures the ball. She creates steals. She finishes efficiently. She has already shown she can impact high-level Big East games. And there's a specific reason her return matters in Milwaukee. Marquette's rebounding presence is led by Allie Ziebell, who leads the Big East in rebounding. Quiñonez brings wing size and rebounding tenacity that helps UConn stay aggressive without sacrificing possessions. But her return creates a problem. A healthy UConn is not a 10-player playoff rotation. It becomes a 7 or 8-player trust circle. So if Quiñonez plays, someone else loses minutes. That is the domino effect. And it leads to the spiciest question of the night. Does Quiñonez's return shrink the role of Ziebell and Heckel, or does it change the shape of the starting group's minutes so the bench stays active? Also, keep your eyes on warmups. The shoulder flare-up is the story. People are going to watch her movement like hawks. If she looks fluid laterally and confident through contact, that is the green light for a real role. If she looks limited, then UConn may still be in a phased reintegration. Now here's the angle that can flip this entire conversation. UConn's recent blowouts can hide problems that become loud on the road. Two things in particular. First, turnover discipline. UConn has had stretches of sloppy starts, including a road game at Creighton in January where the turnovers spiked early. And when that happens on the road, Geno reacts the same way almost every time. He shortens the rotation. Second, defensive rebounding and physicality. When a team like Marquette turns missed shots into extra possessions, it forces starters back into the game. It kills the luxury minutes that allow the bench to grow. So for Milwaukee, the real battle is not just shot making, it is decision making, because the truth is brutal. On the road, trust is earned through defense and ball security, not just points. If the bench commits quick turnovers, the leash gets shorter. If the bench gives up offensive rebounds, the leash gets shorter. And if the leash gets shorter, the March rotation becomes obvious. Let's close the analysis with a prediction that is more useful than any final score guess. The game's X factor is UConn's assist-to-turnover ratio in the first 15 minutes. If UConn stays clean and keeps that ratio high, the lead will build, and the bench will get extended minutes. That creates the post-game conversation about rotation politics and who deserves permanent playing time. If UConn gets sloppy early and the ratio drops, the rotation will tighten fast. That creates the post-game conversation about road vulnerabilities and how close this team is to a true 7-player trust circle. So early in the game, watch the possessions that do not make highlights. Watch the entry passes. Watch the ball pressure. Watch the first decision after a trap. That is where the rotation gets decided. So here's the biggest takeaway as UConn heads into Milwaukee on February 14th. This is not a test of talent. This is a test of clarity. Sarah Strong's minutes will tell you how close she is to full workload. Allie Ziebell's green light will tell you how real her surge is. Kaylee Heckel's first quarter entry will tell you who the staff trusts to stabilize the game. And if Blanca Quiñonez returns, the rotation squeeze will tell you exactly which roles were temporary, because every substitution tonight is a statement. Now I want to hear from you. If Blanca Quiñonez is cleared to play, whose minutes should take the biggest hit? Allie Ziebell, Kaylee Heckel, or someone else entirely? Drop your answer in the comments and tell me why. This is Prime Field, and the 14th of February we won't watch a game. We'll watch the blueprint.
Prime Field.